Hey, we've got this meeting between Presidents Biden and Putin, and I have some serious words for our president. In fact, our federal bureaucracy when it comes to cybersecurity. And Mr. Jim Polito pulled them out of me this morning, so here we go.
Hey, every week on Tuesday, we have the honor of my next guest, and he is the tech talk guru, as far as I'm concerned. Craig Peterson, an all-around great guy, here just in time, Craig, to save Joe Biden. You're going to be the advisor to Joe Biden. How do you like that?
I already have a good job. I don't want to worsen it.
Listen, I know that Canada Day is just 2 weeks away, and you're preparing. You're stocking up on Molson and Labatt and Moosehead. I know you're stocking up on all of that, and I know you've got a lot going on. But you could give Joe Biden some advice. He's going to sit across and look into the eyes of Vladimir Putin. And as far as I'm concerned, Vladimir Putin knows exactly what the cyber hackers in his country are doing. So what does Joe Biden say to the man who's at the top of the cyber hacking pyramid?
Hey, by the way, I am sending out an email today. I put together a little video training for everyone who's on my email list on how to stop these Russian hackers. It's like a 95% effective, okay? But here's the advice I would give him. First of all, he needs to pull back what he said to Vlad just a couple of days ago, where President Putin came out and said, hey, listen, we'd be more than glad to extradite these people to the U.S. You just need to extradite criminals back to Russia as well. And Joe Biden seems to have given his tacit approval for that. The reason I say that is if you look at what we've done here in the U.S., we have indicted Chinese military officials for hacking into our computer systems. So when you hear President Putin say things like that, you are sure he has in the back of his mind the same thing that we did, which is I'm going to ask you to extradite your military hackers because we do have them. Every branch of the service has hackers. Absolutely. So I think what President Biden should do when he's talking with Putin is say, hey, listen, I'm going to reopen the Keystone pipeline, although the guy who was doing it says I've given up now. It's ridiculous. And I am going to continue to put pressure on Merkel and others to not allow oil from Russia into their countries because it is war. We are at war. We can't continue to just capitulate to these people.
No. We're talking with Craig Peterson, our tech talk guru. And while I said it in a joking way, I knew he would take it seriously. This trade of, I brought it up earlier, a trade of prisoners. I mean, Biden is running circles around him by bringing that up.
Yeah, Putin has really outplayed President Biden. It's very, very unfortunate. And when you look at a war, for instance, there's skirmishes. You have battles here and there, and people die. You are really trying to hurt the economy. I hate to say it, but that's why you shoot someone with a small caliber weapon. You want to wound the opponent so that they now have to have 3 to 5 people behind the lines to get that opponent back to health, that soldier. Well, what happens here in the U.S.? We lost the colonial pipeline for a week.
Yeah.
And thank goodness here in the Northeast, we didn't really feel it because we had just had all of our tanks filled up by Colonial down in New Jersey because the way they do it is they stage deliveries. The South didn't do that. So how much did they hurt us and our economy by doing that? I would say they hurt us more than many of the skirmishes we've had over the years. Not in deaths, in lives lost, which of course is just completely incalculable, but certainly the damage to our economy.
Yeah. I mean, it's been terrible. And so, You see, the thing is that, and I know I'm asking you to step out of the technical world into the world of international diplomacy, but you've got a guy sitting there who you and I both know has control over these individuals. If Putin wanted them to stop, he could make them disappear. Like that. Could make them disappear. So how do we just quietly behind the scenes continue to strengthen our offensive abilities as cyber attackers? And do we, encourage all of our private industry to harden themselves to cyber attacks?
Okay. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Hopefully you're still sitting down, Jim.
I am. Well, I sit through the whole show.
Yeah. Here's the really big issue as I see it. I strongly suspect, because I've been watching what our government does, and I have a little bit of an inside track, not much, but a little.
No, I do.
And that helps me to understand a little bit about what's going on. You see, if the Biden administration can continue to literally approve of some of these hacks, let's just play this game through a little bit, war games. If we are all worried that we're going to be attacked and we're not seeing the software that does not protect you, people, like, the McAfee and the Norton antivirus, et cetera, it's not going to protect you enough. We've got Microsoft conditioned us now to the point where we don't want to install updates because it's going to mess up our computer, and we're going to be down for a week or two or three or four while we try and figure it out. Okay? So if they can get us to the point where we're saying this is a huge problem, and we've already been conditioned that if it's a big problem, it must be a federal government problem, because it's a big problem.
Yeah.
So now we need the federal government to step in and take over all of our networks, take over all of our security, monitor exactly what's going on. Because here's what I do, right? I do cybersecurity.
Yep.
And I am tied in with Cisco. That's who we use. They are the best out there for so many things. And Cisco's looking at almost 1 trillion transactions a day. We're talking about emails, website visits, et cetera, et cetera. And the reason they're so effective is because they can take all of this data that they're gathering from their customers. Now, Cisco doesn't send any of your data, it just sends what are called checksums up. But it's looking at what's going on across all of these networks, and it says, okay, here's what's up right now. And it immediately tells all of the equipment, the Cisco equipment all over the country, okay, block this now if you have the right Cisco equipment. And it's blocked. So what would happen is if we get to the point where we're on bended knee and asking, please, President Biden, protect us, and they now decide, okay, well, we're going to protect you, quote unquote, they're going to have to provide probes that live on our computers, Jim. That computer there in your studio, the computer that's in front of everyone out there right now, even people listening on the iHeartRadio app or whatever website, those mobile devices are going to have federal government software on them.
Wow.
Where do you think that leads us?
Yeah. It leads us to more vulnerability.
More vulnerability? Yes, exactly. From maybe you trust President Biden, but how about the next administration or the next administration?
Right.
It's when and I hate to bring up the National Socialists in Germany, but when the National Socialists took over, there were already lists of people that had been prepared by the prior government that had guns, that could defend themselves, that were trained, and they were rounded up first, right?
Yeah.
So if this is put into place, it makes it so now we have a potential real big problem. So let's look at what happened with China and Russia when it comes to very valuable information. For instance, wouldn't you, if you were a foreign adversary like China, wouldn't you love to have all of the information from all of the background checks of every federal employee, including military?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you love to know who works for who, where they are, their family situation, everything? China stole it from us already.
Yeah.
They have it okay? And that's the sort of thing that the bad guys go for. So if we don't pull up our socks ourselves, it's not going to change. So let's look at Colonial. Colonial paid how much in ransom?
Was it $5 million? I think we were talking about in Bitcoin.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like 4.5, give or take, $5 million. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And the meat packers, did you know they paid about $11 million?
Yeah, I read that. Yep. And which is, as you have said, that's the worst thing you can do because you just painted a bullseye on your back.
And the Trump administration said, you pay ransoms, you are supporting terrorism, and we're going to come after you with the Justice Department.
Yeah.
The Biden administration says, whatever, have fun.
Go ahead. What's $5 million? Yeah.
So now let's look at an equation that a perverted person would have in their head. The equation is, okay, so it costs Colonial, let's say, $5 million, plus obviously time and materials to get everything back in order. So let's call it $10 million, okay? And if they were to put the proper stuff in place, I'm not just talking about hardware and software for cybersecurity. I'm talking about the people to monitor, keep it up to date, keep the desktops up to date, et cetera. It would cost them easily $20 to $30 million a year.
Oof.
So what's cheaper, to pay a ransom, keep your fingers crossed, or to do cybersecurity properly? And that's the same equation. The same equation we're seeing again and again and again. Look at the Equifax breach. Look at TJX. All of these big breaches, in every one of them, there's been fingers pointed at C-level bean counters that said, well, it's cheaper to pay the price when we're hacked than not to. And at the same time, we the people, our information's being stolen, we're being cheated, our retirements are being stolen, and we're seeing this. We've seen operating accounts in small businesses completely emptied, and we are starting to beg the federal government to come in and fix this. This is a real problem. So I think Biden should tell Putin to take a hike, a long one off a short pier, and make sure he realizes we're taking this very seriously and do what the federal government was instituted for, which is help to ensure our common defense.
I just was waiting for the perfect moment. I think it's perfect. I think what you said today is spot on. And, of course, this will be podcasted because I hope that somebody from the administration hears it and says, you should listen to what Craig Peterson said on the Jim Polito show. And you're absolutely right. It has to be done. And, Craig, I know you said you're getting out that information about how to protect yourself from a Russian hack, which involves that virtual Russian keyboard. So how can folks get more information from Craig Peterson?
All right. If you sign up before this afternoon, so sign up by noon today. Do it right now. Go to craigpeterson.com/subscribe. craigpeterson.com/subscribe. I'm planning on sending it out probably early afternoon today. And it tells you exactly what you need to do and shows you how to do it for installing that keyboard that's going to keep these Russian hackers out 99% of the time. And, of course, I have my weekly newsletter and everything else, too, but this is critical.
All right. Craig, excellent segment, as usual. And I know you'll be watching the next 24 hours, and maybe we'll be talking about this again next week or sooner.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Craig. Craig Peterson, everybody. What a great asset to the show.